I became the legal custodian of my parents' entire retirement portfolio on a Tuesday afternoon in October. The irony was that they had taught me everything I needed to know about contracts, collateral, and consequences. They just never expected me to be the one holding the pen. Let me clarify what custodian means in this context. After my parents defaulted on a private loan I had extended them, the restructuring agreement gave me full management authority over their retirement accounts as security. They could not withdraw, transfer, or borrow against those funds without my written approval. Every distribution required my signature. I was the younger of 2 children. My brother Derek was 3 years older, and from the time I could form memories, I understood that his needs came first. When Derek wanted to play travel hockey, Dad worked overtime for 2 years to cover fees and equipment. When I asked to join the debate team in high school, Mom said the $75 registration was too steep, and maybe I could find a free club instead. Derek got a used truck for his 16th birthday. I got a gift card to a restaurant. I was not surprised by the disparities. I was frustrated, quietly angry, but not surprised. I learned early to expect nothing and build everything myself. The moment that changed the trajectory of my life happened during my senior year of high school. I had been accepted to a solid state university with a partial academic scholarship. I still needed loans to cover the gap, around $18,000 a year. My parents' income was high enough that I did not qualify for certain federal aid, but they made it clear they were not paying tuition. "You're smart," Dad said. "You'll figure it out." I applied for private student loans. Every single lender required a cosigner because I had no credit history and no income beyond a part-time grocery store job. I sat my parents down in the living room one evening in April. I had printed out the loan application and highlighted the cosigner section. "I just need you to sign," I said. "I'll make every payment. You won't owe anything. It's just so I can get approved." Mom looked at Dad. Dad shook his head. "We're not putting our credit on the line for student loans," he said. "If you default, we're on the hook. That's not fair to us." "I won't default," I said. "I've never missed a payment on anything." "You've never had a payment to miss," Mom said. "This is a life lesson. If you want something, you work for it. You don't ask other people to take the risk." I felt my face get hot. I kept my voice level. "Derek didn't work for his truck," I said. "That was different," Dad said. "He needed transportation for his job." Derek had worked at a sandwich shop 4 hours a week. I did not argue. I knew it would go nowhere. I left the room, went to my bedroom, and started researching alternatives. I took out the maximum federal loans I qualified for, picked up 2 additional jobs over the summer, and enrolled in community college instead. I would do 2 years there, living at home, and transfer once I had enough saved and established credit to borrow on my own. It was humiliating. My friends went away to school. I commuted to a campus where I knew no one and worked 30 hours a week slinging coffee and tutoring. Then, in late August, Derek came home with a boat. Not a little fishing boat. A 24-foot wake boat with a custom sound system and tower. He pulled it into the driveway on a brand-new trailer, grinning like he had won the lottery. I was getting ready for my evening shift when I saw it. I walked outside. "Where did you get that?" I asked. "Mom and Dad bought it," he said. "Early birthday present. Isn't she gorgeous?" I stood there staring at the gleaming hull. "How much was it?" $80 grand all in," Derek said. "Dad got a deal through a guy at work." I felt something crack inside my chest. Not sadness, clarity. "That's great," I said. I turned and went back inside. Mom was in the kitchen chopping vegetables. I stood in the doorway. "You bought Derek a boat," I said. "He's been working really hard," she said, not looking up. "He deserved something special." "You wouldn't co-sign my loans because you didn't want the risk?" I said. "But you paid $80,000 for a boat." "That's our money," Mom said. We can spend it how we want. I wasn't asking you to spend anything, I said. I was asking you to sign a piece of paper and take on liability we weren't comfortable with, she said. She finally looked at me. Why are you making this about you? I did not answer. I went to work. That night, I opened a document on my laptop and started writing down every instance of favoritism I could remember. I was not planning anything specific. I just needed to see it in front of me to confirm I was not imagining the pattern. The list grew to 3 pages. I made a promise to myself that night. I would never ask my parents for anything again, and I would become successful enough that their opinion of me would not matter. I spent the next 6 years working like my life depended on it. I finished my associate degree with a 4.0, transferred to the state school, and double majored in finance and accounting. I worked internships every summer, networked relentlessly, and graduated with 2 job offers. I took a position as a junior analyst at a mid-sized investment firm. The pay was decent and the learning curve was steep. I loved it. Derek, meanwhile, cycled through jobs every 8 months. He worked in sales, then marketing, then said he was going to start a pressure washing business. The business folded after 1 summer. The boat sat in my parents' driveway, depreciating. I bought a small condo when I was 25. I furnished it mostly from thrift stores, but it was mine. My parents came to see it once. Mom said it was cozy, which I knew meant small. Dad asked if I thought the neighborhood was safe. They stayed for 20 minutes. Derek still lived at home. By the time I was 28, I was a senior analyst and starting to build a small portfolio of my own investments. I was careful, patient, and disciplined. Money was not just currency to me. It was security, autonomy, proof. I did not see my parents often. We had dinner maybe once every 2 months. The conversations were surface level. They asked about work in vague terms and talked extensively about Derek's latest venture, whatever it was. Then I got a call from my father on a Thursday in March. He asked if I could come over that weekend. He said it was important. I went. Both my parents were seated at the kitchen table when I arrived. Derek was not there. That alone told me something serious was happening. Dad cleared his throat. We wanted to talk to you about our retirement, he said. I waited. We're not in the position we thought we'd be, Mom said. We've run the numbers and it's not looking good. I kept my face neutral. What does that mean? I asked. Dad slid a piece of paper across the table. It was a summary of their retirement accounts. The total was shockingly low for 2 people in their early 60s who had worked full-time for decades. We made some investments that didn't pan out, Dad said. And we helped Derek with some things. We thought we had more time to recover. How much do you need? I asked. They looked at each other. We were hoping you could help us figure that out, Mom said. You're good with money. We thought maybe you could manage our accounts, help us catch up. I leaned back. You want me to manage your retirement, I said. Just give us advice, Dad said quickly. Maybe move some things around. You know the markets. I looked at the number again. Then I asked the question I already suspected the answer to. How much did you give Derek? Silence. That's not relevant, Mom said. It's completely relevant, I said. You're asking me to fix a problem. I need to know the scope. Dad sighed. We helped him with a down payment on a house 2 years ago, he said. 50,000. Then we covered some business expenses last year when his LLC ran into trouble. Another 30. 80,000. The price of a boat. Did he pay you back? I asked. He's working on it, Mom said. That meant no. I stood up. I'll think about it, I said. Over the next 2 weeks, I did more than think. I requested full documentation, bank statements, investment account records, tax returns for the last 5 years. I told them if they wanted my help, I needed total transparency. They sent everything. I spent hours going through it all. The picture was worse than they had let on. They had co-signed a loan for Derek that he had defaulted on, tanking their credit. They had pulled money from retirement accounts early, triggering penalties. They had bought a timeshare they could not afford. They had almost nothing liquid and no plan. I also noticed something else. In the same month they had refused to co-sign my student loans. They had given Derek $12,000 coded as gift in their checking account. I made a spreadsheet. I calculated what they would need to retire with dignity. Then I calculated what it would cost me to get them there. I called my financial advisor, a woman named Laura who had been mentoring me for 3 years. I need to structure a deal, I said. It's family, so it's complicated. Family and money always is, Laura said. What are you thinking? I explained the situation. Laura listened without interrupting. You want to loan them the money, she said. I want to make sure I'm protected, I said. And I want leverage. Leverage for what? Accountability, I said. They've never faced a real consequence. I'm not handing them a blank check. Laura connected me with an attorney who specialized in family financial agreements. His name was Richard. He was in his 50s, calm and direct. You can structure this as a secured loan, Richard said. Use their retirement accounts as collateral. If they default, you take over as custodian. Is that legal? I asked. Perfectly, Richard said. As long as everyone signs and understands the terms. It's not common, but it's clean. I drafted a proposal. I would loan my parents $120,000, enough to stabilize their retirement and cover their missteps. The interest rate would be low, 3%, far better than any commercial option. The repayment period would be 10 years. The collateral would be their retirement accounts. If they missed 2 consecutive payments, I would assume full custodial control until the loan was satisfied. There was one additional term. They would sign an agreement requiring Derek to formalize repayment of the $80,000 they had given him. If he did not, they would forgive the debt and reduce their distributions accordingly. I was not subsidizing his bailouts. I invited them back to my condo. I had printed the agreement and highlighted the key sections. This is what I'm willing to do, I said. Dad read it twice. Mom looked over his shoulder. This is a loan, Dad said. We thought you'd just help us invest. I'm investing $120,000 of my own money, I said. That requires a contract. You're our daughter, Mom said. This feels so formal. You told me not to ask other people to take on risk, I said. I'm taking on risk. This is how I protect myself. Dad got to the collateral section. You'd take over our accounts? He said. Only if you default, I said. Make your payments and you'll never hear from me. This says we have to collect from Derek, Mom said. You gave him $80,000, I said. I'm not covering that unless he's accountable. He's your brother, she said. And you're my parents, I said. But when I needed help, you said no because it wasn't your responsibility. This is the same principle. They sat with the papers for a long time. We need to think about it, Dad said. Take your time, I said. The offer stands for 2 weeks. They called me 9 days later. They signed. I transferred the funds the following week. Richard filed the paperwork. Everything was legal, notarized, and recorded. For the first year, my parents made their payments. I barely heard from them. No Sunday calls, no dinner invitations. I assumed they were embarrassed. Then Derek found out. He showed up at my condo unannounced on a Saturday morning. I opened the door and he pushed past me into the living room. You're holding Mom and Dad hostage, he said. I gave them a loan, I said. On better terms than a bank. You put their retirement up as collateral, he said. That's sick. They agreed to it, I said. They're adults. You're doing this to punish me, Derek said. I'm doing this to protect myself, I said. But since you brought it up, yes, part of the terms require you to pay them back. Have you started? His face flushed. I'm working on it. That's what Mom said 2 years ago, I said. Set up a payment plan or they're forgiving your debt and cutting their budget. Either way, I'm not subsidizing you. You've always been jealous, Derek said. I laughed. I could not help it. I'm not jealous, I said. I'm done. There's a difference. He left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. 2 months later, my parents missed a payment. I sent a courtesy email. They sent the payment 3 days later with no explanation. The next month, they missed again. I called my father. What's going on? I asked. We had some unexpected expenses, he said. Like what? Derek needed help with his mortgage. We couldn't let him lose the house. I closed my eyes. You're giving him money instead of paying me, I said. He's in trouble, Dad said. So honor the contract and forgive his debt, I said. But if you miss another payment, the custodial clause kicks in. You wouldn't, Dad said. I would, I said. It's in writing. They missed the next payment. I contacted Richard. He reviewed the agreement and sent my parents a formal notice. They had 30 days to cure the default, or I would assume custodial control. My mother called me crying. Please don't do this, she said. We'll catch up. You've missed 3 payments, I said. You're choosing Derek over your own stability. He's struggling. He's always struggling, I said. And you're always bailing him out. I'm not participating anymore. The 30 days expired. Richard filed the paperwork. I became the custodian of their retirement accounts. I sent my parents a letter outlining how it would work. They could request distributions for living expenses, and I would approve anything reasonable. They could not withdraw lump sums, take loans, or make gifts without my consent. I also included a full accounting of what they had given Derek over the years. It totaled $147,000. My father called me furious. You can't control our money, he said. I'm not controlling it, I said. I'm managing it as collateral. You defaulted. This is the consequence. We're your parents. And when I was 18, I was your daughter, I said. You told me that asking you to co-sign was unfair. You said I needed to take responsibility. I'm asking you to do the same. He hung up. Derek tried to rally family against me. He called my aunt and uncle, told them I was financially abusing our parents. My uncle called me to ask my side. I sent him a copy of the contract and the payment history. They signed this? My uncle asked. Yes, I said. And they stopped paying because they gave money to Derek? Yes, my uncle sighed. Your brother's been a mess for years, he said. I'm sorry they put you in this position. I heard nothing from my aunt after that. My parents tried one more angle. They contacted a lawyer to see if they could break the contract. The lawyer reviewed it and told them it was airtight. Richard had done his job well. 6 months into the custodial arrangement, my parents requested a meeting. I agreed to a neutral location, a coffee shop halfway between our homes. They looked older, tired. We want to fix this, Mom said. Okay, I said. What do we need to do? Dad asked. Stop giving Derek money, I said. Stick to a budget. Prove you're serious about your own security. He's our son, Mom said. So am I your daughter, I said. But you never treated us the same. They did not argue. I know, Mom said quietly. It was the first time either of them had admitted it. I know we favored him, she continued. I don't have a good reason. He needed more help and we kept helping. It became a habit. It became a choice, I said. And it hurt me. For years. Dad looked down at his hands. We thought you didn't need us, he said. You were always so capable. I needed you, I said. I just stopped asking. We sat in silence for a moment. I'm not trying to punish you, I said. But I'm not going to let you drain your future to enable Derek. If you want me to release the custodial terms, you need to restart payments and keep them current for 12 months. No defaults. What about Derek? Mom asked. That's between you and him, I said. But not with my money. They agreed. Over the next year, they made every payment on time. I tracked it carefully. They requested reasonable distributions and I approved them promptly. We did not talk much beyond logistics. Derek, meanwhile, finally hit a wall. He lost the house. He moved into an apartment and got a steady job in warehouse management. It was not glamorous, but it was stable. My parents stopped bailing him out, mostly because they could not. When the 12 months were up, I met with Richard and my parents to restructure. I released the custodial control but kept the loan in place. They would continue payments and I would step back. "Thank you," Dad said when we finished signing. I nodded. We still are not close. I do not know if we ever will be. But there is something different now, a baseline of honesty. Derek sent me a text 4 months ago. It said, "I'm sorry for the boat thing," and everything else. I did not reply immediately. I let it sit for a day. Then I wrote back, "Okay." It was not forgiveness exactly, but it was acknowledgement. I still have the original list I made when I was 18, the one cataloging every inequity. I found it in an old folder last month while cleaning. I almost threw it away. Then I filed it again, not because I want to hold on to the anger, but because I want to remember what it taught me. That fairness is not given. That self-respect is built one boundary at a time. My parents will be okay. Their retirement is back on track. I will be paid back in full in 8 years, and I am fine. Better than fine. I own my life, my choices, and yes, for now, their retirement fund. Not as revenge, as proof that the girl they underestimated knew exactly what she was worth.